All right. Technical difficulties are always awesome. Paige Pearce, welcome to the podcast. I feel like you're welcoming me into your world. So thank you for that. I appreciate it very, very, very much.
No, thank you. When you texted me, I was like, oh, that'll be fun. That'll be super cool.
Heck yeah. I just want to say, I got to start off the podcast by saying, you're one of the people that I regret not being into like pro archery longer because I feel like you would have, I feel like I feel like you would have been a spectacular archer to be able to watch. And honestly, with Zach and I have been close. Zach Kurtzall, for those of you listening, the president of Hoyt, he wasn't Hoyt then, and you knew him back when he was a real punk
He's
before
known me
he
since
was
I
even
was
with
born.
Hoyt.
Yeah.
Huh?
I said he's known me since I was like born.
When did you first start shooting a bow?
So my parents shot. So living on the West Coast, we have like a lot of the Reading style tournaments. And so there's tournaments every weekend, and everybody over here shoots all of them. And so that style format, you can like take your kids with you in the group. So literally, my mom shot a tournament on Saturday, Sunday, I think went into labor on Monday and had me at a tournament the following weekend and in like a stroller as a
No
baby.
way.
So, yeah. So the first like one that I officially shot, I was like 18 months old. But they would just stand me up, take me out of the stroller, make me shoot arrows, and then put me back in the stroller. So like all those people like Zach, he used to live, 40 minutes from where we live still. Um, so they all have known me, since my parents have been pushing me around in a stroller out there. So I honestly don't remember not shooting.
That's awesome. And it's such a cool place to like grow up to shoot in too. I always tell people like if Total Archery Challenge wasn't a thing anymore, Reading would by far be the event. If I only did one event, it would be Reading. The problem is I've had the same week of BC bear hunting for like 20 years, and I take the whole week and it's literally Reading week. And
Yeah.
honestly, I didn't have that week for a long time. Well, for several years, which is why I shot Reading with Dave Stepp was my partner. And but then once I got that prime week, I've never left it. So I didn't shoot Reading since my bear hunt because hunting always comes ahead of target archery for me.
See, I wish I could do that, but unfortunately, Target Archery funds my hunting. So I
Yeah,
have
but
to.
I still see what's behind you there.
Yeah.
It's not like 40 dozen gold medals or whatever you've got, Mr. T, Mrs. T.
Those are in a box.
I'm gonna Photoshop you with like Mr. T freaking Clang. That would be a good Halloween costume for you to go as Mrs. T with nothing but just
Metal.
archery medals hanging off your neck.
That's awesome.
So how much do you think archery's changed since then? What are your likes and dislikes? I'm curious.
So that's actually a really good question. When I first started, all it was about was how you shot a bow. That's all that mattered. Like you didn't have to be nice. This sounds horrible, but it's true. You didn't have to be nice. You didn't have to be a people person. There was no social media. Like you could be the rudest person ever, and if you went and won a tournament, like companies wanted to sponsor you and work with you. And so that was kind of all it was just go to tournaments, win, and you're good. So obviously since then social media has like blown up and took off, and now I feel like such a huge portion of the job is social media and like public relations and working the booths at tournaments and being like more involved with the people, which luckily for me, I'm a people person, so I'm okay with that. But I've obviously seen other archers like over the years really struggle with that transition. And so, I mean, I spend as much or more time doing, I don't want to say stupid stuff, but stupid stuff on social media than I almost do shooting sometimes. Like it's transitioned like crazy. And honestly, I kind of liked it when it was old school. Like the results would go out in the magazine and the magazine would show up and we were like, oh, who won, the NFA? And it was like pretty cool. And so now I feel like everything's just so instantaneous that the the people are different, the way the industry runs is different. Like for the industry, like marketing's completely different and so important now. It's all, I mean, everything has changed. It's crazy. What about you? What do you like and dislike?
Probably, I mean, honestly, the same topic. Um, I feel like as pros, we should have done what people can see now. Like, and honestly, the fact that you said like work the booth, I mean, I couldn't rent a car. I wasn't even old enough to rent a car, right? So I had to work Jerry Carter's booth, and if I sold X amount of releases, he would pay for my room or he would drive me around, and so that's you always had to put in your time at the booth, it was like putting in that time. And I remember there were certainly pros that were like kind of the elite winners where they would just freaking vacate.
Yeah.
They would pull the
You
rock star
said-
move, right? And just bail out. And but a lot of times politically, it seemed like, the politics of relationships allowed that to happen to certain people. And honestly, I think you and I are both in a very similar category. We were like, you're a A-lister now in my book
Well, thank
for what it's worth. But but I don't think you're doing anything different than what you've like you're the same person that a lot of my friends that have known you forever, you're the
yeah.
same person.
I think
It's
it was
just now you've got your own ability to
yeah.
reveal that personality. You don't have to have someone else give you camera time. And like I feel like I was always the same as I am now, but because I wasn't as popular, as Ali and Tiffany or whatever, well, I remember specifically, on Under Armour, I'd been with Under Armour 12 years. I remember going to the SHOT Show and them telling me, hey, of course we're going to stay with you. You're actually the cheapest person we have. I mean, honestly, you're undervalued for what we pay. They kind of like made a joke of it, and then they told me I'm captain of the B team, and I just looked at them like,
What?
okay, yeah, well, cool. Now I know where I stand, and so yeah, I feel like if you didn't have the politics,
Yeah.
you were a captain of a B team, and honestly, I think females had it harder,
Yeah.
the hardest. I think Tiffany pushed that for the outdoor industry for females. But like, if I look back, like Denise Parker was a freaking baller. She was a baller archer and she had some credibility, but not in the wake of Jay Bars, a Justin Hewish, Rod White. But look at Butch Johnson. Butch Johnson was the GOAT and could have been the GOAT for compound archery at a drop of a hat if he wanted to. And honestly, Brady's the same way, and Brady's in a similar position.
Mhm.
Brady is a superstar, but he's not a megastar, and that just comes from this whole game we're playing. And there's actually a fine line. I'm curious how you play this game, but then still stay at the top of the shooting game because I don't think I would have ever been able to juggle both those because this takes so much time. And like, if I didn't have a team around me, I just like, we just have hard drives of practice sessions and builds and crap that I've done. There's just thousands and thousands of hours of testing and stuff that have just never even been edited because it takes such a huge team and it was such a distraction. So like how do you weigh this freaking thing out? Because you're on top of the archery game. You'd show up here and beat the shit out of me in a heartbeat. I'm certain of it and still put out as much content. So how are you doing it?
Honestly, I have no team. Like you're looking, I'm the team. Um, so I always say like, and obviously you shot professionally for a while, so like you know what that takes. And so I mean, I went pro, it's been 17 years now. And so you said like, how do you kind of stay at the top? And like, that's a good question. Like, it's so hard. Like, the younger people are coming in, equipment's getting better, people are getting better younger. Like, a 13-year-old went and whooped us all at Vegas. Like, the kids are turning it on. I'm 30 now. So, like,
Oh,
not the
wow.
same as it was when I started. But just to stay at the top of the archery game, I feel like is more than a full-time job. And like you're constantly working on equipment. And then the part that people don't realize is testing equipment. And luckily, like I love it, but I get to do a lot of that for the companies. And that takes so much time that no one ever sees because you
Y-
obviously can't show if you're testing those products. And so it's not recorded, it's not filmed, like it's just you do it. So honestly, it takes a lot of time. I always say if you wanted me to be an influencer, like you can't do it yourself, like do what I'm doing and stay the best and consistent, like across. And the difference for me too is I don't just shoot one thing. Like I don't only shoot indoor or like only shoot USA archery or only ASA,
Yeah.
world archery. Like I do it all. And so trying to stay the best across all those formats and then put out content is hard. So I recently started filming more. Like I just threw a camera on a tripod, threw a mic on, and would like film a whole day of like ASA shooting or like film and just set the tripod up on a target at like a Reading style tournament. And I was laughing when you said that because I have all the footage and I'm like, when am I supposed to edit this? Because to rewatch an entire day of archery means I need the whole day to edit that film. And like, when is that time going to come? So I really do struggle like balancing that. And I feel like if I didn't have to do so many tournaments, I could do so much more, or if I had help, on the influencer, social media, like type side of that. But I'm too competitive to just be like, oh, I'm not ready for this tournament, but I need to edit this video. Like, no, the video is going to wait and I'm going to be ready for the tournament. So I do really struggle like balancing that. I wish I had help. It would be so much easier.
Well, my advice to you right now is, sometimes it only takes, it's like playing Jenga, like, and
Mhm.
honestly, last year there's only a few people that know this, but last year I pushed it too far, and and honestly, I had a serious health scare from from stress overload, and it honestly, as dumb as this sounds, what caused it to happen was relief that I got something done because so much was on top of me that when I'm like, oh my God, I got this done, like I did it. And then that relief caused what was called an adrenal crisis. So my body dumped 100% of my cortisol at one time and my heart almost stopped
Mm.
um for a long time. And so like all
That is-
I'm going to give you advice of I see everything you're doing and what you're doing is enough. Like you've secured some good partner. I'm going to be Papa Dudley if that's okay. I'm 49, so I feel like I can give you a little advice. Enjoy like you are at the peak of shooting right now, and that's a lot of people see me practice and they're like, why aren't you still competing? And I know what my 30-year-old self would have done to me. Like if he wasn't good enough, he damn sure would have got good enough. And and like you get competitive when someone's getting in your space and you turn on the practice afterburners, and I'm sure you do that. But
I
like it only takes one little thing to crumble it all when you feel that pressure. So
I actually had, no one knows this either, but I just had something. I mean, I can just tell you what it was, but I thought we had you did the drug testing stuff. So
yeah,
I had a test in Vegas. I've been tested for 16 years. I came back that next week and found out that I found a third party test online from a CBD cream. And you talked about Zach Kurtzald. So this is the funny part. I put it on Zach in Vegas, like lathered it on his shoulder because he
but
had
it's
had,
on your hand.
yeah. So I found that and was like panicking that I
Yeah.
was gonna fail my drug test. And so I only found out maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and Vegas was like back in March. Like it took that long to find out that it was okay. So that entire like 3 months, I thought I was losing my job and that I was going to get fired and the companies would drop me and I was going to get a ban. And I was like hysterical. And I'm not an emotional person. Anyone that knows me, I'm like, probably need to learn to be.
Yeah.
So I was like crying and just a disaster. And so I was like, I started like gardening and planting and doing just dumb stuff because I was so stressed that if I wasn't like busy 24/7, I was having a meltdown. So I just found out that that was okay, like right before my last chunk of two tournaments. It's like 2.5 weeks ago. And
Yeah.
same thing. It was like, oh, like it had been the worst buildup for, that time until I knew it was fine. And I was like, I'm kind of effed up. Like I need kind of a little bit of a reset. Like that was not
Yeah.
good for my body.
Well, as dumb as it sounds, when you're trying to and honestly, I don't know how much you struggle with travel, but like, I've burned through 3 or 4 passports, like millions of miles, and traveling used to be easier.
Yeah.
I haven't had a hardly one thing on time this entire year, and or like luggage not making it, or someone wanting to prove a point and charging me $400 for a bow case or whatever it is. And I'm like, dude, if I was traveling for target archery and had this stress of like getting there and my stuff's not there or missing a connection in freaking, Charles de Gaulle or whatever. I mean, are you adding like with this traveling now? Are you kind of planning a little bit further ahead?
Not really. I mean, you are just risking it all the time. I literally leave for Spain tomorrow night. And like, I do have an air tag in my bag. So that's one thing that I've done that helps because they'll be like, I don't know where your bag is. And I'm like, here it is on the map. Look at the map and tell someone to go get it. So
Yeah.
the air tag has saved me a few times. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's not good, but we just want to deal with it. And I mean, you know what it's like having tournaments like every single weekend. Like my next few weeks, I just had like FIDA Field Nationals, and then we had something else. I don't even remember. And then came back. I just shot an ASA. I'm going to Spain this week. And then right when I come back from that is NFAA Field. And then right after that's Buckeye Classic. And right after that is ASA Classic. So, I mean, they're so back to back that like
Yeah.
you don't have the days to really go in early or you literally never go home. So like those days that I go in early is my 1 day or like 1.5 days home, for like a few weeks. So it's like I really want to try to have that.
What what do you see yourself changing in archery? Like, are you just kind of riding the wave right now, or do you have some sort of a window where you might step out and shift focus a little bit?
You know, I mean, for a long time, my goal was kind of try to pave the way for the women. I mean, you said it like the women
You
had.
are. You are.
Yeah, when I was young, the goal, it was like you could be a pro archer, but you weren't going to make a living. Like that was not even an option, right? Like the women were
Yeah.
not paid enough. That was ever a reality. And so I kind of wanted to change that. So I've made that possible. Like I've worked through the years with that. I truly, if you ask me like if I prefer the tournament side or I prefer hunting, like I prefer hunting 10,000 times to the tournaments. Like I really do. That's my like true love and passion.
Yeah.
The tournaments are and I loved the tournaments, but just like anything else, when you do something because you love it and then it becomes your job, it changes it. It's not.
Yeah.
And so hunting obviously isn't my job. Like that's what I do for fun. And
Yeah.
so I really enjoy that. Like I would love to be able to like work with people to do more of the stuff on that side. I don't know that that's going to happen. Like obviously I'm doing it all myself anyway,
Yeah.
as often as I can. But yeah, I don't really know. Like I went to school and have a backup plan. So like whenever I'm not shooting archery, I can get a job inside archery or outside archery, like whatever that looks like. But I mean, my entire life has been shooting a bow. So for me to like not be in the industry would just, I don't know what I would do with myself. It would be so weird to
Well,
not.
you're in here whether you like it or not. There's a
I
lot
always
of people that
feel
aren't going to let you out. So,
I'm like, I don't know. I've done real jobs, but it's still been in the outdoor. Like I ran a youth nonprofit before and have done other stuff like that. I've worked at gun stores and archery stores and like I've done all of that stuff,
that's
but
still in archery. What have you done that? Tell me a job you've had that has nothing to do with the outdoors? Did you have
Um,
any wild ones?
not wild. Like I substitute teach. Like I have all that stuff, so I
What
can
subject?
any like middle school and high school. So just whatever they need me for.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Them.
have you been picked on by kids?
Okay. You
Give
want
me
to
your
talk
best
about
substitute, like shit you've had to put up with. I want to hear
I'm gonna get
this.
arrested for this one. Dude, I went to a school one time. They had kids like in a straitjacket. Like they had because they had to. The one kid had like a punching room, like in the back of the room, like all this padded stuff that they could like have meltdowns on. I had a kid have a freak out one time and throw his computer through the ceiling. I had a fist fight in the middle of class. I didn't even sub that much, okay? Like I'm never home. So like the little bit that I did sub and all of the bad is all from one school in my area. So I'm like, I if I had kids, they would never go there, like that's home.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's interesting. What I liked about subbing is there's no overhead stress. There was no like, oh, like every job I've ever had, there's no end to the day. And you'll understand that. It's like you're laying
yeah,
down at night and it's like, oh crap, I forgot to do this or I need to pack or whatever.
yeah.
And so you show up, you make sure the kids don't die for X amount of hours, and you leave. And there's like no leftover stress, like nothing that you could do. So I kind of thought it was fun to just like piece it in. And so I started that during COVID because I am a workaholic and I was freaking out that I like couldn't travel and couldn't shoot. And I was like, what am I going to do? I'm going to go crazy. Like I'm
Yeah.
so then I went and took the C-Best and lined up my sub stuff so I could do that to just have something to do because I couldn't stand doing nothing.
How much do you think some of your some of your schooling on teaching, how much of that do you think actually helped you and what you're doing, or do you think your personality just suited that as because you're a good teacher? So do you think you were already there and that's why you gravitated towards teaching, or do you think the
Well,
opposite?
so my mom's actually a teacher. And
Okay.
so COVID, they were like desperate for subs. And so my mom was like, I know you're going nuts. Like, just go take that test to be a sub, basically. So you have to have a bachelor's degree to be able to do that in California. I know other states aren't that way. So I had a degree. So that allowed me to be able to do that. So all I had to go do was pass. It's like English and math test, basically, for the state. And then you can sub. So, I mean, I love instructing and teaching for archery stuff. My mom is a teacher by trade. And so she was like, we are desperate for subs. Like, you should just go do that. So you have something to do. And I'm like, okay, sounds good. But truly, during that time, we weren't really teaching. Like they had online programs that they were doing on their computers at school, and like you kind of just monitored them. It was actually kind of boring. Um, but from an archery standpoint, like I love the teaching side of it. Like that's probably I almost like that more than like the shooting part. Like I really do enjoy it. And honestly, like it's so different when you were shooting and like when I was coming up, no one talked about why or how they were good. Like no one told their secrets. There wasn't social
Yeah.
media. Like you couldn't just go find this information. And
I
so
was exiled for that, Paige.
really,
I feel like yeah, honestly, when I started coaching other countries
mhm,
and especially like teaching people how to use barreled shafts,
yeah,
and then, just honestly teaching what we knew here in the US to other country. Like there was teammates of mine that were pissed off about that, and I got some serious hate for like, I think I was the first American to ever coach the Indian team. I coached India several times. Korea was like people were mad that the Koreans would get compound knowledge. So when I started working with like some of their coaching staff, like I was getting some serious
mhm,
hate. And honestly, what really happened was there were people from the States creating Hotmail accounts,
yeah,
sending super negative emails into like Matthews for pretty much like saying things that I was doing, which I wasn't, but that they knew I was trusting teammates telling them these things that I was getting in trouble for that I wasn't doing. And once they realized I was getting potentially fired for these things, then that was now their ammunition to get me out of there. And I didn't like any part of that, honestly, because in the end I wanted to hunt.
yeah, literally. One video I remember I made specifically was the World Archery Field framing on like how we do that.
Oh, did you do it?
I posted it. I have a video out. USC Archery shares it every year at nationals and every other year at World Championships. And honestly, I did it because field was dying and like no one was coming in. And so it's like I don't want to say a last ditch effort, but like a last ditch effort to try and like get people who wouldn't normally shoot it due to the unknown factor to come and play the game.
Yeah.
And the number of texts that I got from specifically compound men in the US of like, what are you doing? Like, why would you share that? Like, that's our secret.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's gonna be
Yeah.
our secret to the archery grave of field, like if we don't help grow it, you know?
Yeah. Well,
So
I guarantee you two of those people were the same two that were pissed at some of the stuff I talked about.
I'm sure it
Um, but I always said the same, I always said like if archery, like my best time shooting, the best I've ever been shooting, and honestly, when I really, as a person, I feel like I accomplished something personally that no one would ever take away from me. Like when you go out and you clean marked and you clean unmarked, or you shoot a 600, or like, I don't know if Zach told you, but like my best ever full FIDA was the day Zach gave me my first Hoyt bow after I'd left Matthews and I met him at Easton, and I shot a 1428 behind Easton. And like when I did that stuff, that's something no one could ever take away from me. I loved that. And once I felt like I accomplished those tiers, I was really satisfied, with where I was from an archer's point of view, because I know I accomplished these huge hurdles. And even if I didn't do it for years in front of everybody on a TV, the fact that you can throw that down, a lot of people just don't like understand that. But I loved that. And part of what made me get there were the people like Chris White, Dayon Sitar, Dave Cousins, Martin Damsbo, Niels Balders, Morgan Lundeen, Clint Freeman, Pat Coughlin, like,
like
and
it's crazy because I still talk with
Seppi
quite a few of them.
Cilliers, like I'm gonna forget someone really important, and I'm sorry if I have. But being in peer groups every single weekend with people like that, when they're better, I was better. And I didn't even know those levels were achievable, honestly. And that's why, like, Dave Cousins and I would fly to each other's places to train before fields. And honestly, like, we knew if we could beat ourselves,
Yeah, you'd win.
yeah, it's like, dude, if we're practicing here and you and I are cleaning rounds, like,
Mhm.
all we have to do is bring that game, and no one can beat it. And honestly, when Chris White beat me for the gold medal um in
I loved it.
Croatia, oh
Like,
yeah, yeah,
so much
yeah.
fun.
So when Chris White beat me in field, guess where I was for 3 weeks before the next World Field Championship 2 years later? I flew to England to train with Chris
Mhm.
before our World Champs, because I'm like, if I can be on if I can stay on pace with Chris White, then there's no more prepared I can be for a World Field Championship. It was like if Cousins and Chris were both my training partners, that's the best there is in the world. At that time, it was, and we were all shooting clean rounds then. So yeah, I loved getting the best better, because whether I could do it or not, I had to, and like my drive made me go to that level. Now, I'm glad I got out when I did, because am I gonna, sling down 600s, and inner 10 scorings? No, you
The
know,
level's gotten insane. Like it's almost stupid how good in the last like 10 years it just went like
it's perfect.
that's the hard part about staying on top is it's not like you have to maintain. You have to keep getting better because they've gotten so much better every year. And I'm like sitting there doing it with them sometimes and I'm still going, how is this possible? Like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, like it scores in things that you never thought were achievable. Like not, it's not even a thought in your mind that you could do that. And then you do it. Last year, I had kind of a rough day, the first day of NFA Field Nationals, and I was mad at myself. I was like not happy. And Tate's like, "Oh, it'll be fine. You'll go shoot a 650 tomorrow." And I said, "I'll shoot a 650 when hell freezes over. Like no woman's gonna shoot a 650."
Yeah.
Got a 651 the next day. And I was like, "What?" Like just stuff like that, it still just blows my mind. And then watching the scores the men are posting too, and how the depth has grown in their class and the women's class. I would say that's one of the biggest changes. Should have said that earlier. That's
Yeah.
happening is just the growth of the scores and the depth. Like it's so hard to keep up. And if you're not working your butt off and improving, like you're falling behind because
Yeah.
so dang good now. Like I look back when I first started and I'm like, no one was good back then. Like, why didn't I try harder back then to be good? Because now, like, you have to try super hard and everyone's good. Like, why didn't I capitalize when everyone sucked? You know? And that sounds horrible to say, but from a score perspective, that's kind of the truth. And I'm like, when 680s were good, why weren't we shooting 700s? You know, like we were perfectly capable. It was just in our head. We
It
thought,
was totally in our head. Yeah, there's no doubt because like I'm sure you like you know what you can shoot in practice. You know, if you're not thinking about it, like I don't know. I remember one time I did 99 like inner like inside out X's in a row. And then I went back to the line and I thought, okay, this is going to be trip, 100 inside out inner tens because I was shooting X tens on that face. And and then I blipped it,
yeah,
totally ruined it. But
usually
it's
how that
because
goes.
I thought about it. It was, I just got out of the flow state.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you can acquire the flow state naturally a little bit easier than other people?
I do. Like, if you ask me why I've been good as long as I have, I'm not going to say it's because I shoot a bow better than them. Like, I started working on my mental game around 10 years old, which is young. And like, I see a lot of coaches in the US only talk about form and shot and stuff like that. And they kind of miss the mental side of everything. Tell
Yeah.
the kids like peak. And then it's like, now what? And then they start working on the mental side of stuff. And I don't know, like, I don't know why that resonated with me so young, but I knew it was important. And so I was at Vegas and Lanny Basham had a booth there. He was selling his book and we drove. So it was like a 12-hour drive. So I bought his book
Yeah.
on the way home. I read it out loud in the car to my parents for the 12-hour drive, whatever. And I was like, wow, like that's really cool. And again, at 10 years old, like I don't know why 10-year-old me
Yeah.
so much, but I was like, I like that. Like I get that. And so I kind of that kicked off like my mental training. And so I mean, I've spent years doing normal things, unorthodox things, like all the things,
Yeah.
to try to work and build on that. But that's been like the one thing that I could always lean on. Like my setup may not be the best, or my shot might not have been the best that day, or my aim, like whatever. But my mental game was so good that I could kind of get away with a lot of that. So
Yeah.
now you have to have the mental game and everything else has to be on point. Like there is no room for any part of it to slack. But like back then, I didn't really practice. Like for so many years, I would
Yeah.
only shoot once, and I was still good and I was still winning. And it was just because of the mental game. Like
Yeah.
now, level's so high, I have to shoot all the time. And, I'm constantly doing little tuning things and different things to try to pick up 1x, 1 point, because that's the difference between like first and 10th at some of these events or worse. So, at my level now, it's hard because sometimes I'll share videos and it's like, even the majority of the people like don't need that. If I wasn't shooting for a living, like I wouldn't take the time to do that because you're not going to see some huge point jump. It's going to be minor, but for us, like that's huge, from a
Yeah.
percentage standpoint. So that's very different. But
Did you ever meet Lanny?
uh I think because I think he was there. Like I haven't met him since I
He came 1 or 2 years. I met Lanny a lot. And honestly that there's a lot of stuff being talked about in the industry from a mental side of thing that's not giving Lanny credit.
Yeah.
I personally believe, which,
Mhm.
it is what it is. But yeah, I know where the basis of a lot of this mental programming that's being talked about right now, it there's no doubt about it. It came from winning in mind.
Yeah.
No question. And
The
yeah,
foundation of everything I've done, like it all started there. And the first thing people ask me, like, what do you do for mental game? I'm like, well, get that book and start there because that's the
yeah,
same thing I did. And if he just does such a good job of explaining like the broad overview of how everything works. And I love the examples that he gave on, you think the right way and things go well, and you think the wrong way and they don't. And it's so true.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so,
You
I think,
manifest your outcome.
yeah,
Yeah,
people worry so much about the things that don't matter and they don't put enough into the time, like enough time into the things that do. And so it's hard because I'll watch, let's say amateurs, whatever, want every tuning video, every bow question, every form question. And I'm like you're not going to fix your one little thing in your form and like
we're
be
mirroring
better,
golf.
like that's not the problem. The problem's in your head. The hard part is when you change something on your bow, you can see that change and it's like measurable. And so people like that. The mental game is something that you work on for a long time and you may not see the change. Like, or you see it in such small increments. Like it takes time. It doesn't just happen overnight mostly. And so a lot of people just quit putting the work in. And I honestly think for like 90% of the people that want to get there and they don't, it's usually the mental game. It's not their shooting ability.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is the hard part about mental training is you it's like trial by fire. You can't really test your mental strength with a level 0 anxiety factor.
Oh.
Like you have to, at least for me, I tell people this a lot. People say, "Well, how much did you really win?" I had to learn to lose. I had to learn to lose a lot because the losing, when something was on the line, every time I lost, I was trying to build one thing mentally that could make me better the next time. And you can't do that in practice. You can't replicate that. Like you can practice certain things that you read about, but when you really ingrain them and solidify them is when you build confidence in finding them work when like your heart's pounding so hard you think you're going to throw up on someone. And then you've got to like somehow not shoot 10 people in the crowd that's downrange from your freaking sight scope.
Yeah.
And, and then hopefully come out on top without looking like a total nerd. But
Yeah.
you can't do that until you're in the heat of the moment. So for me, it took me a lot of like F ups before I finally like did it, got it right. And
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 sometimes even when you get it right, it still takes longer for it to like fully set in and click. It's not like, oh, I got it right once and now I'm going to get it right every time. Because
yeah,
experiences can be different. And so, I mean, I've been shooting my entire life, and I feel like the one thing that's always growing and improving is my mental game. Like that's the part of the game where like I don't feel like I'll ever cap out because there is no ceiling to that. So that's the thing I'm always working on because that's I think the most important. Like you can only like execute a bow so good or like aim a bow so good. Like you can
yeah,
only shoot so many arrows. Like at some point, it's kind of like riding a bike. So like people will be like, oh, you're going to practice. And it's like, it's more strength maintaining at that point because it's like, yeah, I got everything else down. Like there's only so much you can do. But you can always do something with the mental game. So that's one thing I'm really passionate about. And, I really think that that kind of made all the difference for me. Had I not done that, had 10-year-old me, you know, not been interested in that, I think I would have gotten there at some point, but I think it would have been a lot slower road. Like I think I wouldn't have, improved until like later in life. Like I wouldn't have been winning tournaments at such a young age.
it's
And
hard to say. I mean, that
oh,
one move could have shaped your whole career because it's almost like mentally, it's so easy to point towards either your lack of practice or something in your equipment that's hindsight. But, if you really kind of drank the Kool-Aid from that in the beginning, that sets the precedence of you really weeding. those things out and channeling your focus. So a lot of people don't know this. It was kind of a bomb, which is pretty sad, but so we actually hired Lanny to do a mental archery DVD to go free in boxes with Matthews like a long time ago. Do you remember it?
I don't. Mm-mm.
Well, we did, and no one watched them. They were free in the box, and it was an entire series separate from what he did. Lanny came to Matthews. Him and Frank Pearson came for a year or two and worked on like all kinds of stuff.
Mhm.
And everyone just disregarded it. And then all of a sudden, like Lanny
The
showed up
most
to
important
Vegas.
thing they were ever given too, and then they
Huh?
don't. That's probably like the most key piece of stuff they've ever been given in archery, and then they don't even look.
Yeah, it was. And so I still fall back on that. So so like in my old hunting like my hunting set, I actually had this old reel tree pouch that had like two zippers in it. That's where my releases were. This was kind of prior to release pouches or for sure bino harnesses. We still had like the shred, like we didn't even have the real chest harness yet. But I had a Buckeye cherry in down in there with my releases, and it was the shiniest thing because I would put my hand in there and I would like rub my thumb around the Buckeye and I would like count. And when like a big buck or an elk came out, where like as soon as I felt myself get triggered, I would go to that Buckeye cherry and just start counting that. So what do you want to give away your tell? Do you have one?
So here's what's really funny. I'll tell you this. I don't do anything like that. And let me lead with people don't realize how good of friends all of us are. Like when you're on the tournament trail together, I spend more time with those people than I do my own family. So like we have open, honest conversations. Like we all talk shit to each other all the time. Like it's fine. But they tell me that they think I'm kind of scary because I don't ever like look nervous and I like don't have those type tells. And I absolutely feel it on the inside, but I usually just like smile and act fine. And they're like, I think that's worse than if you like looked nervous, because we're over there shitting a Twinkie and you look fine. And I was like, I'm not. I don't feel fine. But I've always kind of looked it. But in my head, the thing that I always used, and it was actually a guy, God, I'm trying to think of his name. I was in Vegas. It was like my first ever Vegas. So the same year probably got Lanny's book. And I was shooting, and around here I was really good. Like there were no kids that were beating me. Like I was so much better than the other kids. So all of a sudden I go to Vegas, I shoot the first day, and this girl and she was from Michigan. I'm still friends with her. I was in her wedding. Like we became lifelong friends, but we were tied. And I'm like, who is this kid? Like, oh my gosh. And the nerves that I felt was like full panic because there was no one that had ever like pushed me. She felt the same way. So the second day, we are just shitting the bed. Like we're shooting arrows everywhere. And a guy from Washington who we'd shot with came down and he said, hey, like, don't be afraid to miss. And I'm like, but I am afraid to miss. And he's like, that's the problem. Like, don't be afraid to miss. And so that like line has always really stuck with me. And so I'm like, well, how am I supposed to not do that? And he was like, sing a song. And I was like, what? And he's like, just sing a song in your head. Like, just try it. So I did. And I
What
kind of
song was it?
I was 10. Okay. Don't do you believe in magic by Apple AJ from the Disney Channel? And
Oh my God. I
oh my
was like thinking you're
soul.
gonna say like Hannah Montana or something like
It's equally as bad. I mean, it's like the same thing. So I would start that song like whenever I drew back and I would hit anchor, I would start the chorus. And I pretty much quickly learned that you can't think two things at once. And so if I was singing the song, my conscious mind was distracted long enough that my subconscious could like do what it knew it needed to do.
yeah.
I quit getting in my own way. And so if you look, it was my first individual world championships and it was a junior. So it was 2009 in Ogden, Utah. I'm in the final and you can literally see me like
No
singing. Like
walkout music, but you had it
visibly.
going.
No, it's in my freaking head. It's so funny. I look back today and I'm like, And if you know the song, it's like totally the rhythm to the song. So whenever I got really nervous, I would just fall back on that. I would sing a song, let my subconscious run its process, and it would work. Over the years, like you develop other things, like then you get so good you don't think anything. That's usually how I am now. But if like your brain isn't the same every day, just like your body's not the same every day. And so some days or some circumstances, some matches, even some hunts, right? Like they just seem harder than the other ones, or maybe your head's just not fully there that day. I will still to this day fall back on singing that song.
That's
And
hilarious.
yeah,
My
it
mine
works.
mine was I shoot X's because it makes me feel good, and I would just repeat it. And sometime in Vegas, I had someone like at the end of the day, it was after day two, so like you're
Oh,
getting
yeah.
peer group for day three, and on this year, I actually ended up on target one with Chris White and Jesse, um, just a bunch of assassins. But I forget who was. It was like I don't know. It was like a Rod White or someone that I know. But I remember like on my last arrow, I was like, "Well, sorry, dudes, we're not going to be shooting together tomorrow. We're all going to have to get peer grouped." And some guy goes, "Thank God, I'm so sick of hearing you say you're going to shoot X's because they make you feel good." And I was like, "Oh, have I been doing it out loud?" And he's like, "Yeah, a lot." And he's like,
What?
And I miss every time you do it." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Realize you were doing that?
It-
Yeah.
I don't, I mean, I know I say it in my head. Like there's times where like, I'll get in a flow state and I'm kind of doing it more for the cadence too, because like that sentence, if I'm going off around the word good, my timing is very on pace for where I personally like to be. And then honestly, like once I cut the fingers off my releases, the rotation of my releases became my reset.
Okay.
So like, I would just stare down and I'm just looking at I'm trying to count rotations for a mental reset. So those were kind of all my tells. And then, now in a hunting situation, I'm kind of I'll normally start spinning my release like, okay, here we go. Like this, it's go time.
I'm
I,
too
w-
clumsy for that. I would drop it for sure. Like they got her.
I wonder like how good could like Mary Zorn, I mean, like what would she be like nowadays?
I mean, so I actually got the pleasure of shooting with her. She came back. We had an indoor world championships in the US and she hadn't shot for years. And then she came
She was
back.
Mary Ham at that point, right? Yeah.
So she came back, tried out for that team, made it. And so I was on the team with her, and we actually won an indoor world championships team gold medal. So it was kind of cool because as a young kid, like she was there and you'd heard her name forever, but I'd never really got to shoot with her. Like by the time I went pro, she wasn't really around. So it was pretty neat because she literally came out of like semi-retirement basically, did the world championships team and we got won a gold medal. So it was
Pinky
kind of
flared
cool.
out. Was
Yeah.
it pinky full flare? Nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
See, I grew up right in the area where like Nancy and Randy Rutledge, her mom,
Yep.
Nancy Zorn and Randy
I shot with her
Rutledge.
actually too at
Oh,
field.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so that's where I grew up. It was in that area right around those, all them, Mike Anderson,
Yeah.
people like,
I
it's
actually
fun.
think where you live is so influential on kind of how you end up. And like I got so freaking lucky to live where I live because we had so many, like Zach was there. We had Randy Tucker and Ben Hobbs and Tommy Daly and my
Oh
dad was
yeah,
in the
dude,
group. And like,
I
Todd Hawkins.
forgot those names. Ben Hobbs.
Like
Some of those were some freaking studs back late
they're still
90s.
here. They're still at the local tournaments every weekend. They're still shooting. And
My
so
gosh.
I grew up shooting as a young kid with all of those guys. And so my whole thing was like, well, I don't want to just shoot the kid class. So we had the team thing going here. So I would shoot with all those guys every weekend, trying to beat them. And so
Hmm.
I think that's one thing that helped me too is like, one, they would help, you would learn from them, you'd pick stuff up from them, but they were like pushing me to be better. And then they were so supportive. And so also the tournament formats, like we shoot uphill, downhill, out to 100 yards, side hill, you got to know sight tapes. And so to me, like had I grown up shooting maybe only ASA, where there's like no dots, it's 50-yard max, it's
Yeah.
flat. There's a lot of skills that you don't really learn shooting ASA, if that makes sense. And
Way too many that you don't learn really.
and so I think where I grew up, but mostly also like the people that were there made like the biggest difference for me. Like truly, I got so lucky living here. And then having those people who are better than you and who know more than you, where you can kind of like pick their brain and like piece things together. Like that's how we had to learn because there wasn't YouTube. Like you couldn't just go on
Yeah,
YouTube and
yeah.
watch 17 videos from different people on whatever the topic was, like you can today.
I'm curious on your setup. Your V bars are borderline Tim Gillingham here. Like, walk me through your progression with stabilization because I'm pretty simplistic and I've gone down the extreme roads a few times, but honest, if I'm pretty honest, not very far. They seemed more like placebos for me. So like, walk me through your stabilization mentality right now.
So you want to know the funny thing? Before we hopped on the podcast, I said to my mom, "Hey, you want to come over and film a couple videos for me later?" Because I actually put a fake face on for this podcast. And one of them was going to be talking about my V bars because I've had so many questions recently about it. So here's how I look at it. I had, and I'm actually still working on that right now because for the first time in my life, it's probably not like 100% where it needs to be. But for most of my entire career, like I had the most incredible shot execution. Like never battled that. It was so good, so clean, so consistent. Like when I was 8 years old, my dad handed me the old blue Stanislavski, like before we had D loops and the loop was on
Y-
the
Yeah,
release.
yeah, yeah. Most people couldn't even load that damn thing.
I got so many bloody noses. Like that's why my nose I think is still crooked to this day because I hit my face so many times with that stupid thing. My dad was like determined, like you're never gonna punch, you're gonna be a back tension shooter, and you're gonna learn
Yeah.
on. And I was like 8. So I learned that so young that I didn't really need to work on that. My form, I slowly worked on myself. I never had a coach. Still to this day, I haven't had a coach. Like I just kind of did everything myself. And my parents deserve all the credit, except in this one scenario, they never really helped me with my form because they were like, well, you were already so good. Why would we change it? That's how they always saw it, like when I was young. But I went to my first worlds and I like stood facing the target. My elbow was forward, my arm was bent, and I faced the target. And I remember the Russian coach coming up and being like, did Rick McKinney train you? I'm like, no, like I don't have a coach. And they're like, no, Rick McKinney taught you. I'm like, no. I got harassed so much about my form at that first world. So I was in 2008.
Because
And I was
Rick
like,
was that jacked up with the
yeah,
Olympic style recurve bow, by the way.
yeah,
For
that just
those
is way
listening,
harder.
like, yeah, yeah, which
Yeah.
would have been harder to do.
Yes. So I don't want to say it made me self-conscious, but I never really realized my form was that bad until I went to Worlds and we won a gold
Oh,
medal there. Like I shot really well, but I was like, okay, I must look like crap. So then I really started paying attention to it. And so every off season, I would pick like at least two things, maybe three things that I was going to change and work on before the next year. So I did all that myself. So long story short, the one thing I've found still to this day, I said like mental game, you never top out. As a woman, I feel like I can always aim the bow better than I aim the bow now. It's like listening to the top pro guys on like what they see through their sight picture versus what I see through my sight picture. I aim like hot trash compared to them. Still, I always
me
have.
too.
I like I don't aim the bow good. I don't. And so back in the day when the scores weren't as high and nobody was as good, I always ran the normal setup that everybody ran, your one back bar, your one front bar with a 1-to-3 ratio that everyone said you needed. And it was like, that's what I did. And it was fine. Well, as everyone's gotten so much better and you're trying to like squeak out an X or a point here or there, the one thing I'm constantly working on or testing is aim because that's the thing I know that I'm weakest at
Yeah.
compared to either other women or like the guys. One story, and it's one of my favorites. So Tate's parents own an archery shop in Montana. And So he was there, and then Chris Schaff, who's phenomenal, like lived in the area as well. So
Yeah.
one indoor season, me, Tate, and Chris are all shooting Vegas rounds. And we shot one game and we all shot a 29X. And I was like, yeah, like my pin's touching the red. And I shot a 29X. And the boys were like, my pin never left the 10 ring. Like, what do you mean? Like, they're like, I rarely even touch the inside of the 10 line. Like, what do you mean you're freaking touching red? You can't shoot a 29X if your pin's touching red. And I was like, I'm not lying, I swear. So we find a laser, we put this laser on my bow, and they point it off to the side so they can see like the aiming, like the size of the pattern. And they have me shoot, and like it looks like a freaking basketball. And then they put it on their bows, and it's like, just this little tiny circle. So then they're convinced
Yeah.
I was lying and that I was aiming worse because they were testing me. So they left it on my bow, set up a thing to record what the movement looked like, and they said, we're going to score another Vegas game. So we scored another Vegas game. All three of us shot 28Xs, and my freaking pin movement looked like that with that stupid freaking laser. And the boys were like their mind was blown because they're like, I don't understand how you can hit anything with your pin moving like that. And then I'm looking at their pin going, how do you ever miss when you aim like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. What are you
Like, this
doing?
is so weird. But that was like the biggest wake up moment for me because we always say, like, if you could see through someone's sight picture, how cool that would be. Like, if someone
Yeah.
wants that, they're going to be very rich. And I'm
Yeah.
the first person that wants to test it. Like, that would be so cool. Well, that was kind of a glimpse into that for me. And I was like, holy cow, I aim like shit. Like, I'm really not good at that. And
Does it?
the women
It's
just suck at aiming, really, comparatively.
so you're just trying to put more mass there to slow that down. Is that why you're
Yes and
going a
no.
little bit bigger now?
So here was a change for me because I used to be the person that wanted the lightest setup on the field. Like I made AAE build me the lightest bar on the market. So I had the least amount of mass weight. And where that shifted for me was actually COVID. And so I got COVID and it kind of effed me up and it effed my heart up. And I didn't know it. Like I knew I had, I was out of breath and whatnot, but like a lot of people were saying that. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was shooting a tournament and Greg Poole was coming around with a little finger checker doing heart rates. So he wanted a resting, he wanted during the tournament, like at different ends. And so I was sitting there with Jesse Broadwater and he like puts it on his finger and his freaking resting heart rate's like 58 or
Yeah, I was gonna say like
something.
12.
Yeah. And then he puts it on me and it was like 140. And he what the fuck? He's like, it's broken. So he puts it back on Jesse, 58, 60, puts it on me, like 140. And he's like, something's wrong. So then I'm shooting the tournament. We finish the first 10 and he's like, come back here, give me your finger, 180. And I'm
Oh
like,
my God.
what the heck? And I never had a high heart rate. I never had high blood pressure. Like I was fine my whole life. Got COVID recently before that. And I had felt that way ever since. So I ended up going home, took my blood pressure. It was like 180 over 120 consistently. I made an appointment with my doctor a few weeks out.
You had
I go,
long COVID.
yeah. So it got me. And like that, it's not like it was like my heart. And here's the other thing, we can't take meds because of
Yeah.
testing. So I can't go take a freaking beta blocker. Like they won't approve it. So there's not much I can really do. And they don't really understand why. So with that said, at that time, now my heart rate being significantly like sitting here talking to you, I haven't moved in the last however long this has been, and I'm probably sitting around 100 to 110 right now. And so
Yeah. I'm
my
at
my watch on.
54.
Yeah, like that's insane. I literally wish I had my watch charged because you watch it'd be like 115 and you'd be like, holy shit. But so with that, I shoot an 8-power lens and I can see my heart rate in my stupid sight picture. And so,
Dude.
yeah, and I don't know how to, like, I can't fix that, right? So that's
Yeah.
when I started adding a lot of extra weight because I was trying to deaden what I was seeing from my body and my heart rate that I didn't have before. Like I hadn't had
Yeah.
in my life. And so my aiming got significantly worse at that point. It's still not what it used to be to this day. And so I have been testing and testing and testing ever since. So one thing I will say, that wide bar that I have on the front, I used to run a 12-inch. Now I'm down to like an 8-inch. And I like the 8-inch. But if you like, people always ask why that. And of all the aiming things, I actually think that made almost the most difference than anything. And so I always ran V bars. And to me, this is the video I wanted to film today, was why. there's so much more you can do with V bars from like an aiming standpoint. That like if you change one thing on your back bar and you run one back bar, your bubble's jacked, and then you're changing your first axis again, and you're just chasing your tail. And I felt so limited. And to not have the bow lay sideways for me, I had to have the bar really, really close to the bow, which then you lose a lot of the like benefits that you get from a back bar.
Yeah.
With two, I can spread them out, still have those benefits, split the weight, and it's more adjustable. So I went with the V bars and I've shot those always. Then the wide bar came into play. And that it's like think about a tightrope. Like if you're holding something to walk a tightrope, you don't hold it here like you're holding it out. You're extended because that's going to help you balance. So that's what that did basically for me. And I really love that thing. Like I think it makes a huge difference. And then there's like small things coming around, like the SOS. So that's like a new thing. I have that on my bow. It's from Archery. And
That's
anything,
Griggs's.
yes, it's Eric Kirk's thing.
Yeah. Yeah. He
I'm like, give it to me and let me test it because I don't
I
know
got one of those. I got one of those as well. And I
which
mean,
model did you get, like the original, like the OG, or recently?
a
They're
couple of
better.
weeks ago.
Okay. Oh, so the newer ones. Okay, good. Have
Yeah.
you played with it yet? Do you have any thoughts?
Not
Honestly,
really. Honestly, I had to do a bunch of builds for winners, and then I'm working with new stuff right now. And so that's the hard thing. Like when you talked about, like prototyping stuff, I'm
I,
doing a lot of R&D stuff right now that I can't show.
yep,
And I don't, that's like not the greatest place to add in new elements. It's like you kind of have to single out changes to
100
understand what's going on. So
for
I don't
sure.
know. I kind of want to wait until I know for sure what I'm using next year, but that could actually, like, I feel like that could be a really good thing if it works. I mean, it could easily be snake oil too, but
I see. And this is where it's hard because, and this is
Camilla Somad, do you remember Camilla?
yeah, Deep Mars girl. Yeah.
Okay, so you remember Camilla's shake?
Yes.
I mean, hers was a tremor, and I've had a few people that have had that. I feel like that product would be perfect for that type of movement too. Like I feel like it could really benefit someone,
Yes.
that has that. Mine are more like kind of just random darts. It's almost like I have my brain just sends a weird impulse to a shoulder muscle that just kind of freaks it out for a second, but I'm pretty dang my aim is still pretty
I guarantee you, if
pretty
we did
much
a
gifted to
laser,
me from God, I think. I don't
I would
know.
whoop my butt at Amy. Like if you lasered that thing, you would kill me, and you'd be mind blown that I hit anything with how my side picture looks. But no, the SOS, I have noticed a difference, and I noticed different things on different setups. So like my indoor bow, I didn't notice that it changed my actual aiming pattern, but the wide bar I had at the time was weaker. So when I hit the back wall, everything would kind of vibrate, and I had to wait a sec or two for it to stop before I started my shot. And it basically took that initial vibration out. So I could hit the back wall and just go. And it was so
Yeah.
outdoor. I haven't noticed that, but I did get a stiffer, wide bar. But I've actually found like I can see changing the different weights on it. Like sometimes it'll make my sight picture way worse. And then,
Hmm.
go another third or whatever, cap. And like then the sight picture gets way better. Sometimes you can change it to where you see a smaller, faster vibration, or you change the weights and then you get no vibration, like bigger swooping movements. So I do absolutely see a difference with it on different bows. And so far, every setup I've run one on ends up different, like a different weight or a different spot or like whatever.
Yeah.
I'm seeing
Which
a
makes
difference.
sense if it's actually working. There's a lot more physics at play than just a simple put this on and you're good to go.
I think that's what's hard about the product is you have to be willing to like test it. And a lot of people just aren't willing to do that kind of like most people can't even set their freaking stabilizers up right because they're not willing to test like all the things.
Well, even
So
if your drawing's not right,
yeah,
how much is someone fighting that, or someone that really just can't control the weight they're shooting, or someone that's got anxiety because they bought a handheld release for the first time 2 weeks ago? I mean, that's a hard thing with
Mhm.
all this stuff. When someone asks someone where we can change one thing and then notice how that's affecting the rest of the thing, but a lot of people are trying to they're chasing 5 or 6 different placebos, and that's why, like, I don't know, a couple years ago when I finally just did that like truth about arrows, I'm like, listen, I just shot live and then went down there and I'm like, there's some right helical, there's some left helical, there's some 1 degree offset, there's a 6 degree offset. Listen, they're all freaking tight groups. They just move around. But if you can't do that, then you're just pissing in the wind trying to change something every single day.
Yeah, because you can't tell, like if you're not good enough to tell the difference in what you're testing, it doesn't make sense anyway. The one question that kills me, and you asked about my V bars, like right now I have one bow that's pretty level, and I have another bow where they look like this. Everyone
I
goes,
thought you just screwed them on wrong.
when everyone goes, why are your bars like that? And so I fire back with, why haven't you tested your bars like that?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
I promise you, I have spent the time testing them all of the nice, even ways. And then I started going to all the janky ways, right? Like I didn't just start with the janky, I ended with the janky. And so,
That's hilarious.
yeah, to me, it's like, because that's what aims the best right now. Like, I don't know what you want me to say. Like, why are you not testing that stuff? And so, whenever people ask me that question, that's always what I fire back with. And then they're kind of like, I mean, I guess you're right. And I'm like, yeah, I tried all the normal shit and it didn't work. Like it didn't aim good enough. So then I started getting wild with it. And like, I will do whatever it takes to hit the freaking middle, like, or at least aim it at the middle. And so, you know, like I said, one bow's set up pretty janky right now. The other one looks a little bit more standard, but it's like, I just don't care what people think. And
Yeah.
to do what we do, you have to have a little bit of that in you, especially today, or you're going to want to jump off a bridge. So
Well,
it's
our
like,
bodies change some too, and
everything changes. Like you were just talking about that, but like on a different bow that I had before, like maybe I didn't need that, or it liked something completely different than what this riser and this cam system wants. And so it's ever evolving because very rarely year to year am I shooting the same exact equipment that I used before. So then I'm having to test all the things over again to figure out like what this model this wants and how this is going to work together. So that's kind of like a never ending rabbit hole. Now, the difference is, and I always tell people this, like you just said it, if you're not good enough to like tell what you're doing, don't waste your time doing it. Like that's so stupid. Work on your actual shot or your mental game. Like that's way more important than some weird tuning thing or, whatever it is. Uh,
yeah.
but I am very much like I will tinker and tinker and tinker, but once I find something that works, and I don't think people believe this when I say this, but like once I find something good, I don't touch it. And
Yeah.
like my bow tune, on that tan bow that I'm shooting for most of the stuff right now, like everything but ASA, I have not moved my rest or changed my tune or my arrow build since the beginning of outdoor season because I nailed it and it's good.
Yeah.
The thing I'm playing with is the aim because that can usually be better for me, but like the tune is great. And so I will put in the time that it takes to have whatever I'm working on good, but you also have to understand and know like what is good for you and when to call it quits. Because if you never quit working on it, that's not really good either.
Yeah. Well, do you have any critiques for me? Like, what do you think of my technique? I want
No, your form is good.
Coach Pierce.
No, your
What,
form's good.
what?
I don't ever really critique people's form all that much because usually it doesn't matter as long as you're doing the same thing every time. You can look like total crap and still hit the middle if you do it the same way every time. You don't, by the way. Your
Yeah.
form
Well,
looks good.
well, I tell people that though. Part of my coaching is I let people know. Well, one of the first things I tell people is I kind of define exceptions and I tell people, listen, there's always exceptions to the rule. So like, like all the wilds, that's not really a technique that's coachable, but it's a world-class technique for all three of them.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But there's until Tim Gillingham, how are you going to coach that to anybody in the world, right? But standalone, an awesome archer,
Mhm.
and we've seen people like that, like, who's shot the flared pinky like Mary Zorn ever? No one,
Like,
like
don't
you
look at
with
that
your
arm.
jacked up technique.
Like
So
Jesse's bent arm, I'm like, why are you doing that? Like it's so much more stable and reliable if you straighten your arm out. But Jesse dominated. Like who would tell Jesse that, right? It worked for him.
yeah, no, no,
Oh,
yeah,
so
don't
it
tell
doesn't
him
matter.
anything.
No. So
Don't
it's
tell him anything.
there's so many people that find success with not the best forms. It just works for them. And I
Yeah.
also hate like the coaching form where everyone wants everyone to like fit a mold. Like I get critiqued if I ever have a video go like more viral than like outside my dedicated, followers. Everyone's always talking shit on my back elbow. Like, why is your back elbow so high? Why is your back elbow so high? I'm literally telling you all the videos I was going to film today. So like literally I was doing
I
that
got to
test.
go out and film them before you post them that way.
Go ahead, you can do it.
How
So like,
high is your elbow?
huh?
How high is your elbow?
I mean, like it's high-ish. Like, I don't know, go look at a photo or a video, but
I
like
mean,
it's not level. Like this would be level and it's like
that's,
up.
I don't
So
know. That's, I mean, let me
there's a
look.
reason.
Let
So
me,
the test is you stick your arms out like you're gonna shoot, and
yeah.
then turn your head like you're looking at the target, and then just bring your backhand like you're gonna anchor. That's where mine's at. So for me to like have an anchor point, I have to either break my elbow forward or bring my elbow up to hit my face. Like I'm like 8 inches behind my head when you do that standard test. So whatever ratio like on my arms that I have just doesn't fit the flat arm mold. And
You
so
don't, yeah, I don't,
like you should just do it, see where your hand lands. Everyone will be different. And that's my point is like, dude, everyone can't have the same height back elbow unless their arm measurements are exactly the same ratio, which is not the case.
I
So there's
like where your elbow's at. It's not your elbow, what I'm looking for. Like, you have such a good rear parallel arm to the front.
yeah, but it's still high. Like my back elbow is high. It's not
You've got a
parallel.
funky wrist, is all.
Which one? Both, huh? And an elbow.
You just have a funky wrist. That's all. No
I
biggie.
I am very hypermobile, I think is what they call it. So all of my joints are very loose and like hyperextend. So I have a hard time, like my bow arm wrist, like I actually shoot a negative degree grip. So it's like fuller at the top and flatter on the bottom. So it's like wicked flat, more than the companies even make, because all my joints bend so much that for me to have a flat wrist, I literally have the basically a negative grip to make that work. So
Wh-
I kind of battle the hyperextension game because all of my joints move way more than they should move.
How much weight do you have on the back?
Close to 40.
Good God.
I've got like 20. It changes, right? Like every bow is a little bit different, but roughly around 23 on the front and about 40 on the back. And then give or take whatever I have on the riser. Plus
Oh
that one.
my God. I just saw this video of you drawing back at Arizona Cup and your arrow blew back in your
Don't
face.
win. Yeah. You don't miss those days, right? Like,
Dude, my first time at Arizona, well, back then we were shooting all full, full feet of stuff. So I remember like the clock was going and I'm like at full draw and it's one of our last ends and my bail comes off and it's like rolling. And I thought like I didn't know FIDA rules, so
yeah,
I
like
just shot to make sure I could get like it was rolling down the thing, and I just like held top ring and like let it rip, and then hit it, and it's like going. And I told Rod White was there, and I'm like, I go, I had to put an arrow in there. I was afraid to take a zero, and he's like, no, I think they would have like reset that one.
usually we don't get that lucky. They just flop forward and break all your arrows in half. So now they've learned and they like very securely strap the bales down because that happens so often and arrows were getting snapped off. So they've done better now. We've fixed that. But yeah, the wind is like not your friend. I mean,
I'm
those still to
I'm
this day, they're brutal, but
I'm
I enjoy
looking at
don't have to be perfect anymore. Like most of what we shoot, you have to be so perfect. And those windy days, like I'll leave the line just laughing sometimes because it's like, oh my God, I shot a 7, but you're like fine with the 7. And so it
yeah.
makes it fun again because we don't always get that kind of like leniency until the wind blows like that. And then it's like, all right, like now it's just kind of hit the scoring rings and like do the best you can. And I kind of think it's fun actually.
I'm now I'm like totally instead I'm dodging our podcast and I'm just like critiquing your form.
If you
There's a
ask,
few where you're hyperextended in the front arm some, and I was trying to look to see if
so,
some of the times when you hyperextend, if it's when you've loaded up more on your
so
weight or if
that
it's
joint grew
Huh?
wrong. The front elbow joint in that arm literally grew wrong from shooting a bow so young and having pressure on it. So I think I was around 15 and I was gonna go have Tommy John surgery to like tighten everything up. And the surgeon guy like looked at all my MRIs and X-rays and he's like, I can't do it because your joint grew wrong and the joint won't support what we tighten up. Like it'll
Oh
just go.
wow. You're lucky
I
you
used
noticed that.
to so stupid. So I used to shoot with my arm rotated like up.
Oh
Still
God.
like my other arm doesn't do that. Like that's it long.
Yeah. Yeah.
This one still hyperextend. So I had to learn to roll it a little bit
Yeah. Yep.
before I draw. And so if I'm really strong, like shooting strong, I can keep it rolled. But like let's say I took a break or I'm not like in good shooting shape. As I'm shooting, it will like slowly sometimes kind of roll if you aren't strong enough to hold it because
I wonder if it's mentally when you tell yourself to aim too. Like there's
the harder
times
you
and with
push,
certain,
the more it rolls. Like if I'm pushing and pulling harder, then
yeah.
it's that much harder to hold it still. So that's a
Yeah.
thing. Like a lot of the women fight hyperextension, but like mine's really not great. And
Kids
then
do for sure.
it gets even worse, right? Like that's just like there's nothing there and it does that. So,
Yeah.
but this is archery, right? Like you have to use your body and figure out what will work for you and like what's the most repeatable thing for you because like that might not be the same for us or like the next guy. And so I think that's what's more important is like working with what you've been given to like figure that out. You can't
Yeah.
just put everybody into the same mold. Truly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, dude, I don't know how long we've been talking. Oh my God. A couple hours.
Really?
It's 4:30. Or no,
No.
it's 3:30. Sorry. My watch was still
There's
on
no
Lancaster time.
way.
My watch was I have one watch East Coast and one watch West. Okay, well, we're still
I
not
have
that
I have
we're
a
not that
question
bad.
for you because I know people
Uh,
like always ask me this, so you're like the perfect person to ask too. So
yeah.
how do you handle all the like haters that come with the social media and like all that stuff that you're doing? 'Cause I have a lot
Do I
too.
have some?
Yeah, which one of us doesn't, right? You do anything right, people are gonna hate you for it. Like I've learned that. But like, do you
Well,
just
I
shake it
can
off? Do you not pay attention to it? Like, how do you handle that?
um honestly, I post and ghost.
Oh,
I yeah, I'm here to help archery and I honestly I don't care what anyone says. My team honestly have we've kind of, they know that if they bring me something negative, I'm gonna like I have to go in and there's lists of people that, we've got 40 hours a week in DM just scrubbing DMs, helping people. We've got employees that are just doing customer service answers. We've got families wanting to do some kind of a special birthday gift for someone. So like when I go in, if someone's gonna use a drop of my time to
yeah.
tell me about some guy that's, got a problem with whatever, I'm just like, usually if someone's new, I'll be like, hey, if we've got something negative that it was our fault and I need to address, which, you
Right.
know,
Rarely that's
well,
probably the case. It's usually just people being assholes for no reason.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So like if that happens, I'll normally say like, hey, no harm, no foul, don't sweat it. But if I'm in here, whatever I can do to help us or help archery or help a customer, that's like until I have spare time, that's what you need to talk to me about. But the thing is, our like we're just I'm just fortunate of our community, if I'm honest. Like there's just not much negativity and knock-ons. Like if you look, there's not. But I've also never solicited a follower. I've never like asked. I've never bought followers. I've never asked. Our community is a network of people that are like-minded and love what our brand is, and it's
Mhm.
pretty rare. And I honestly don't need to fight for myself because our community normally rallies if someone slings darts. Um, I normally don't have to say anything, but even if I did, I would just be like, "Hey man, I can spend 15 seconds writing you a question, or I can actually go into my DMs and there's going to be someone in there that archery just saved their life because, you know, they just got back out of the military and, they're struggling. Like,
Yeah.
am I going to waste 15 minutes reading this bull crap? It's kind of like the archery meme things.
Yeah.
I I never see him. I tell my team one thing, if there's ever something that involves my family, which one time archery let down did that. So honestly, I used the means that I had and text his personal number and just said, "Hey dude,
Yeah.
if you want to do something silly with me, that's great. All I'm asking is if you put one of my family members in there, then I'm coming hot, you know,
So
and our brand will come hot legally if need be. But, I focus on the good. It's like we go to all these events. There is so much positive for archery. I've got zero time for negativity. And with all the good you're doing,
yeah.
why the heck would you take any time to read that crap? Like, don't do it.
Well,
That's
I
my
don't have a
advice.
team to filter it for me, so I am reading all of it. But the reason
Well,
I do that too is I'm hoping if younger people are listening to this. So this is a question I get a lot.
okay.
They ask me that, how do you handle it? Because up and comers are starting to post stuff on social media, like they're trying to grow that. And there's just so many negative people that, like, when you aren't used to it, that it can mentally be kind of tough. So I get asked that. I literally had someone message me and they sent me like a screen recording of like conversations with them and some hater. And I'm like, just block them, like, just move on, like
Yeah.
they're with your time. But that's something I think for the younger people coming up, if they want to do like what we're doing, whether it's what you're doing or what I'm doing, because it's two different things, but we still both have to have social media. Um, like I wish someone had told me how to handle that when I was coming up, because you're gonna have haters, you're gonna have people say things you don't want to see. Most of us don't have a team looking at it, like you have to see it. So it's just
Well,
don't let it
I'm
affect.
very involved, by the way.
Yeah.
When I say team, there's like when I look at Knock On, it's like, there's comments in Facebook, there's comments in IG, there's comments in TikTok, there's comments in YouTube.
So
We
many.
have live chat. We've got, you know what I mean? We've got live chat
There's
for
not enough hours in the day for
yeah,
you.
I have to assign it. Now I definitely see what's in our like my main post because it's me posting. I don't have like,
Someone
you
doing.
know, I don't have that, but we just have a lot of moving parts. Like it is a vast team, but yeah, when it comes to negativity, if if you look at someone and you can recognize they're a troll and they just, like honestly, like anti-hunters. I see a lot of people's platform get attacked by like kind of anti-hunters. But
I've
I
had
think,
people on my butt a few times. I'm like, ugh,
y-
block, block, block. Like, no one.
yeah, yeah. And that's probably the best bet is, is to block someone for that. But, I also tell people too, sometimes you got to like look deep down. If you're creating content that is clickbait, don't be surprised. You know what I mean? You have to, and I think women have it pretty pretty tough in the outdoor space because you guys you don't make as big of a check. You honestly, if you just look at numbers, just look at how many women buy archery equipment out of
Compare.
100%. If let's just say any company in we could just say $1 million. Let's say company A does $1 million in sales. Well, if 8% of it is female archers, and that's just a statistic, well, now you got 80 grand,
Yeah.
right? 80 grand. And that's 80 grand as a gross. So now let's look at a company that maybe they make 25% on that model. So now we got 80 grand. Now female archery is actually netting this company 20 grand. So you're playing with a smaller percentage, which sucks because there's people like you out there that have, that have paved the way or continue to pave the way for women, but it's just a lower percentage. And that's why I love TAC because TAC is growing women. So
Yeah.
I mean, 100%, there are more women jumping into total archery challenge events than any other archery space that I've been into because the mom feels like she can go out there and she doesn't feel like she has to be a certain level of good to do it. And if she doesn't want to shoot a target because she doesn't like it, she can move to the next target. So, you
I've
know,
still never shot attack. I will at some point, but it seems like they always overlap tournaments for me. Like Tate's
oh
going to the
yeah.
track in Salt Lake in a couple weeks, and like I'm at Field Nationals, so I'm like obviously
Yeah.
I'm not go to a tournament for that, but I would like to go to one at some point. I think they'd be fun.
It
But
was
yeah,
perfect.
I
It,
like how you answered that. So
huh?
I said I like how you answered that question, just because, like I said, I wanted you to give that advice. Same thing I have to say for like the people coming up, trying to do what we're doing now. Like, don't let that stuff like dampen your light, like just do you. And if
Yeah.
it's the right thing, it'll work out.
Yeah, it's easy for people to be keyboard warriors. And honestly, if we ever have like, I don't know, it's pretty rare, but there's, if it comes to the point where you just feel like there's like a negative heckler, like I've always addressed my problems head on. I've got means to get anybody's number. I will call them and they're usually in shock. Or I'll see them and I'll just be like, "Hey man, you have a
Mhm.
lot to say about me. I've never met you, so let's meet and talk because, I think it's easy for all of us to make opinions on what people are like when we don't know each other. And I'm just in a very comfortable spot in archery where I'm picking I'm really working with people. These are all passion projects for me. Every partner, like, if I wanted money, I would have went to Matthews. Like, I wanted my friends. Like Zach started at Hoyt when we were all cutting our teeth in tournament archery, and I wanted to go back where I have friends. I've been with Easton for 31 years. They're friends. It's just like that everywhere. It's like, even with Carter, Jerry drove me to tournaments when I wasn't even able to rent a car. Like, thankfully, I don't have to make a decision based on money. I am giving back to archery as best I can and trying to bring people to light that I feel like have that same passion,
Yeah,
you. And I think that'll shine brightest
it
in
will.
in the end. It'll shine brightest.
I feel the same way. Like I feel so lucky to work with the people I work with. And like I am still doing it for a job. Like there's certain things, but I think one misconception that people always say is like, oh, you just went to this place for the money. Well, like on my side of it, to make the really good money, you need to be winning. So if you didn't pick
Yeah.
the product you think you can win the most with, then you're an idiot. So like, yeah, it's for money, but not for like the reason that people think. Um, it's because that's what I thought would shoot best. But I mean, I work with exactly who I want to work with now. And like
Yeah.
that's nice. Like, and it hasn't always been that way, like working
Yeah.
up and doing stuff as I was trying to get to where I was going, but like the relationships that I built with them too, like they're like family. Yes,
Yeah.
business relationship, but like so many of them go so much deeper than that. I feel the same way with the people I shoot with. Like they're some of my absolute best friends, like they're the people that I call when I've got a 2 hour drive or, like things like that. People just don't realize. And so I think the coolest part about what we do is the relationships that are built along the way, whether it's companies or just people or people you meet. Like that's still today is my favorite part of the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, you're in it for the right reason. You've had the right people around you. And I know, when your last contract was up,
Mhm.
I know I know who wanted you badly.
Yeah.
And honestly, and and on the people that knew you well enough knew that it's not like you were technically really up for grabs
Yeah.
because in the end you gotta shoot what you're comfortable with. And like sometimes, especially now when everyone's damn near perfect, you a 1 year learning curve on a new product could be very problematic,
Yeah.
you know. I remember this will be a blast from the past, but so way back right when I turned pro, some new owners bought Oneida.
Okay.
And I was really like one of my mentors were the Chapel brothers, Randy and Sonny Chapel.
I don't know them.
Randy was the first one to shoot a perfect IBO score. He shot a 400, like this would have been like early 90s. So it might have been a little bit earlier.
I wasn't born then. That's why.
Well, so they were my mentors. They were my mentors. And when I turned pro, I actually had, so Oneida was trying to find some pros, and I got offered 20,000 a year to shoot Oneida. And I was shooting a Matthews, and I was shooting it got me to where I was, right? It got me to where I was at. But I remember vividly Joel Maxfield did not want to sponsor me. I bought my first bow at 40% off, and then I think I got the second bow at dealer cost, but contingency was open. And I was like more or less begging for a sponsorship. But I remember Joel saying Foster Thigpen's going to win Rookie of the Year because I mean you're not better than him. You're not going to beat him. And so I had to make a decision on whether I shot, and I got two Oneidas, and I had my two Matthews that I had bought the year before, and I had two free bows and a potential check. And I
Mhm.
remember one of the bows would hold like a rock. Like I couldn't move my pin off the X, but that thing could hit a bull's ass with a banjo. Like I couldn't shoot a 12 to save my life with that freaking thing. And
Yeah.
then the other one aimed like a Paige Pierce, but it
Yep.
freaking just put him in the middle and it freaked me out. So I had this decision of like, I can shoot these two things that I literally have no control over and just take 20 grand, or I can shoot what I feel really good at. And I've got to go out and win a couple majors to even think about getting that money back.
Yeah.
And I went with what I could shoot good because I felt like I had to have confidence going somewhere. And so even then I turned down money because I'm just like, this would just be a check and I don't know how to hit shit with these things.
No, it's tough. Like people really don't realize that. And then the hard part on the tournament side is if you sign a deal and maybe you don't shoot the product well, but they're paying you more up front, and then you suck at shooting with that product for the next, let's say, 3 year minimum. If you try to leave at that point, who's going to want to sign you when you've sucked?
Yeah, yeah,
So those are huge decisions because it's not just the money like right then, it also affects like any contracts that you're going to get in the future. And so honestly, and I say this to everybody because people will be like, "Oh, well, I see you're shooting a this and I have a this. Like, is my product bad?" Like, no. They're all the companies nowadays are making products like so much better. I look at some of the stuff that, dude, I shot with a broom handle stabilizer for like a long time, okay? So like I look at the janky stuff that we shot back in the day that we made work versus like what all the companies are making now. And it's all so good. So I
yeah,
look at it like there's very small differences. And we talked about like, for example, mental stuff earlier. Then we talked about bodies being different. And like maybe this one feature on this bow works better for me with my body or my setup than like this other one. But for you, it could be totally opposite. And so I tell everybody like all the products are good. It's just like the tiny little differences between them. You just have to figure out what's best for you in that sense. Not to say that one is better than the other, but it's what's best for you, like the
yeah,
individual. So I think it's nice. Like we've obviously seen each company like push all the other companies to like be better and make better products. And innovate. It's just been great, like seeing all those changes and being a part of testing a lot of those changes and
Yeah.
just love it. But
Well,
yeah,
you've earned it. I mean, coming for me, you've earned it. Do you
thank
have
you.
any more questions or anything you want to say, Paige? It's
I
been
don't
such a pleasure, but
know.
yeah.
Hopefully I'll run into you attack at some time and we can. Dude, my problem is I can't clear the distance to shoot your dang Bigfoot target. Like I have
Well,
longer arms or more poundage or something, higher
you can
peak.
shoot Bigfoot, right? I mean, you can shoot
So
Bigfoot at Reading. Where are you aiming on a schnoz or something?
I have to run my sight all the way in. So I shoot it normally all the way out. I run
Yeah.
it all in. When you do that, the torque of your bow changes your left and right. So
Yeah.
clicking it like 40 clicks to the left, I'll shoot a different arrow. So like I was shooting the Easton Parallel Pros, I would switch to a Super Drive Micro so it's lighter. And then I have to cut the top vein off. So it's a two vein so I can clear it. And if I do all of those things, I can just clear to actually aim at the dots. Like in the middle of the tournament, I'm like, don't talk to me. And I'm like moving my sight. I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like counting to 40, counting my clicks, switch arrows, shoot Bigfoot, and then I'm over there like clicking it all back.
Dude, why
It's
don't you just go there and like learn where you can aim on that thing's head? Just get
I'm
a spot. Like,
serious
don't do all
thought
that. You're more likely to, or
that
just hide another bow in the bushes with some ACEs and,
I did.
I mean,
It's
what are you
so
doing?
like, there's things like that that for the women, I'm just like it's so annoying, like from the drawing to the poundage. My biggest one's peep height. Like that makes the biggest difference. And I run a pretty short peep height.
What is
But
yours? Papa
like
Noctis Center. What is it?
3 1/4.
Damn, girl, you do have a high. No, three
I
and a
know.
quarter. You're talking full draw measurement
Like
vertically.
the program. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You're getting pretty tight there.
Uh-huh. What's yours? Like 4?
Right at four. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right at
If
four,
I
just
had
under.
that, I could clear all the distance. But like the competitor in me is like it would kill me to go to tack. And I can clear a little more with my hunting bow, but like to go there and then not be able to shoot like the targets at the full distance because I can't clear the distance, like that would drive me insane.
I
So I
mean,
need
in
just
Utah,
mhm.
I think one year the knock-on course averaged 69 yards.
Okay. I can clear that. Like that's
Well,
fine.
that was the average. I
Yeah, that's
mean,
not good.
yeah, that's average,
I'd have to
average
get past
target.
the targets.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, you've always got some triple digit ones in there. I mean, there's some that are fun. They're all fun, but there's definitely a few that are nonsense. I normally walk our range and just try to get the total trash out of there. Like that's the one pet peeve I still have as a competitor is like if I'm just gonna center a whole bunch of lettuce on the way to the target, like I'm not cool with that.
So at tack, do you have to shoot from a set stake or can you shoot from wherever you want? How's that work?
You can always move up. So the cone will be the furthest safe distance, and you can shoot anywhere from there forward.
Okay. So like let's say someone brought their wives and they were only comfortable shooting 60, like they could still shoot the targets. They would just advance a little
Oh
way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and unless you're at Bigfoot with me, I'd highly condone that, Just go where you can have fun.
Okay.
You don't want to purposely lose a whole bunch of arrows and hate life, but yeah.
Got one last one for you. What fun hunts do you have coming up?
Um, I mean, elk's always fun.
Did you draw anything good?
Not really. I'm kind of a little bit low on tags. I'm gonna get a leftover tag. Honestly, today I'm gonna pick up a leftover tag and try to do an early season deer hunt. I'm a little bit light on tags this year. It's getting harder to draw stuff, but I always put my name like have bow will travel. And last year I didn't have a lot of tags either. I just told a lot of people like as soon as someone says like, "Hey, I can't be there tomorrow. My kid just got sick." You call me and I'm like on the
No.
way.
No.
So I'm a designated shooter right now. I'm the DS.
That's awesome. I always tell my friends, like girls and stuff, I'll just book hunts and go by myself. But most women will not do that. And so I'm like, yeah, if you want to go hunt somewhere and like you don't have anyone to go, just assume I'm in, like just
Yeah.
count me in. I don't
Yeah.
care if it's Texas or wherever. Like I would go as long as it doesn't conflict with tournaments. But yeah, I don't have anything real cool coming up. Like I did draw antelope in Montana finally, which
I
was nice.
forgot to put in for Montana, dude. I think I
Well,
just lost all my freaking points. I could just shoot myself. I
I
forgot to put in for 2 months. I was so busy. I just
I
forgot to send anything in.
I haven't drawn deer or elk there. Like I've drawn, but not the permit, so I end up giving it back. So
Hmm.
the joke was when I started dating Tate that it was like, yeah, I just want an elk hunt. And so I'm like, I've been waiting over 7 years now for a damn elk hunt. Like
Yeah.
a bad plan, but no. Yeah, I still haven't got to elk hunt there, but I don't have anything really crazy coming up. Just California tags. I have that. I think we'll do maybe a little bit of whitetail stuff, but nothing too crazy. It's so hard because now the freaking tournament schedules, they just keep extending them and
Uh,
extending them.
yeah. That's why I was out. As soon as they added the fourth, as soon as they put the World Cup final after the three, and when they made the World Cup final in September, that's when I'm like, I'm not committing to this. I'm
They
gone.
put our last two tournaments of the season, and one is for shooter of the year, like September 20th.
See, I'm out.
Like, I complained a lot. I think everybody did, but it's like, what are you doing? Like, there's open weeks from like mid-August all the way to then, and they
Yeah.
get 20th. So, and then the hard part is the Indoor World Series events kick off at the end of October. So, like, and then November, like it just goes like crazy. So it really makes it hard. Like my dream, if I had one, would be less tournaments and more hunting. Um, but yeah, unfortunately, right now it's a lot of tournaments and not a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a pretty hard stop. It's like August 1st. I'm like this year I'm doing one tack in Indiana, but normally it's like August till December. I'm really focused on hunting content at that point. So, I mean, it's hunting for me, but I really focus on like hunting content during that window of time. Winter is really just a very hard reset for me and trying to just build my body back up to meet like rep numbers that I need because during hunting season you're just not putting in numbers like that. So I kind of like, I don't
I
know.
saw you post the other day about like how many arrows you were going to shoot, and I was kind of mind blown because I would never shoot that arrow count unless I was doing tournaments full time. Like
I
I
still try to do 20 to 30,000 a year.
I'm trying to think, break that down month, week. Yeah. Like that's a lot for not shooting tournaments. You know what I mean? Like obviously we all know it makes you better. It's going to make you a better hunter, like all the things.
I love watching arrows fly. Yeah, I love watching arrows fly and it's like part of, I don't know, it's just part of my system. Like I feel like if I don't do it, it's I don't know. I don't know anything else. It's part of like who I am and I love like I love training by myself. My whole gym's like right over there and I have everything I need in like my office. I've got like everything I like and I feel like I have to train every day. I feel like I have to like at least work on one bow every day and I feel like I have to shoot every day and if I don't, I feel really guilty about it.
That's fair. I mean, I feel that too, but like, I mean, I have to go try to win for a living. I honestly think like that's impressive because honestly, if I was not shooting professionally, my arrow count would not be that. Like I would shoot drastically less if I wasn't having to go to tournaments all the time. And I love shooting, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but I'm more driven, like I like the people and I like the competition. So I would probably shoot less at home, but I would hit like every local tournament or do things like tack or like do more fun type things. So I like shooting arrows at those places because I'm like wicked competitive. I have a hard time when I'm here by myself. Like once we're off, I'm gonna go shoot a whole bunch more before the World Cup this week. And it's like I have a hard time staying all that motivated other than I know I have to go compete, right? Like if I didn't have that, I don't know that I would shoot that many. So good
Yeah.
because I really don't think I could do that.
No, I think I'm at like 14. I don't know where my clicker is. Oh, it's right there. I don't know. I
I've
think I'm
never
at
owned one of those. Like I know a lot, all the recurves
Yeah, I'm
are
at
stuff are common.
14,232 or something so far. I don't know.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Normally I didn't have them either, to be honest with you, but I just kind of thought like maybe it'd be nice just to actually tally some. Yeah. The most I've done is I think 36,000 in a year. But also a lot of like, I'm looking at six six bows right there that they're all being shot for a different purpose too. So, like, well, one of the things is like I'm working on a new release, so I feel like I need to put 30,000 through it to really know if it's going to be what I want. So sometimes I don't get credit for that. People tell us we just put our name on stuff, and there's some things that, yeah, we do that, but I normally make some kind of an adjustment. If I do anything that's not stock for myself that I sell, then I make sure those same changes are on what we sell. But that's
Yeah,
kind of my method to that madness.
yes. No, the testing really is where a lot of the heavy arrow count comes from because that's where you're trying to learn and grow and figure out what's going to work and if it's going to break or what's going to,
Yeah, you have to see if you can
yeah.
break it.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
pretty hard on stuff. Like I break a lot of things. So is Tim Gillingham, not to put myself in his category, but
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah,
trust me.
if we can break it, like give it to me. And if it's breakable, I will break it. Like I'll probably faster than what you think. Like,
I
and if
remember being
I'll fall on it and break it. Like it's
I remember being at the factory and Tim sending some of his crap in saying like, "Yeah, I don't know, something's wrong with this thing." And then I'm like, "Well, it looks like you drilled these bearings out with a freaking handheld drill and then pounded some skateboard bearings in this cam, bro. And by the way, this cam wasn't designed to work on needle bearings or whatever the freak you just did to
not
this
not much
thing."
has changed with what you're saying right now. It's same thing, different era of him. That is hilarious.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. Like same thing. So if anyone ever says like, what do you think about what Tim's doing? I'm like, give it 2 weeks because he'll do something different. Yeah, I don't have to have an opinion yet. He'll change soon enough. But that's part of his program, I think. He plays the placebos really well into what his mind game is because he's got a tricky clicker upstairs too. Lanny was a big help for him early 2000s.
He'll tell you like his mental game is his biggest fight. Like I've seen him stand at 100 plus yards and shoot groups that I wouldn't dream of. Like the guy can shoot a freaking bow,
Yeah.
but the pressure that's always kind of bothered him. So, he's always tinkering with something, but I grew up, kind of with him as well, living on the West Coast, shooting a lot of the same tournaments. And so, man, I get a kick out of some of the stuff that he tries. And don't get me wrong, like as we said, my bow doesn't really look all that standard either. Like I'm willing to try anything as well, but we just call him Inspector Gadget because over the years,
Yeah,
like, he used
that's
to have
what we called him.
it came down and all these different things he's tried. And so I'm like, yeah, he's like Inspector Gadget. Like you never know what he's gonna have this week. But I mean, kudos to him. That guy, I swear he puts in more time than like most of us combined. Like I think he's got more hours in the day than we do because I don't understand how he tests all that weird stuff. But that's
Yeah.
all fun. Like honestly, I think as a kid, like my goal was actually to get to test because the women never did that. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to hate on the industry back then, but it was just different and no one gave a
Yeah.
shit what women thought.
Except for Michelle Ragsdale. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean,
she
and
was a baller.
they're just legendary. So there's
Yeah.
that. Like on average, women weren't in the R&D room, like having input on what was being done. They weren't
Hmm.
included in the equipment that went out to be tested. Like that didn't really exist when I started. And so now I think that's one of the cool, like it takes a lot of my time, but it's one of the favorite things for me that I've gotten to do just because it's like you're actually involved. Like you said, you're not just putting your name on something or just shooting something that you don't have a say in, if that makes sense. And
Hmm.
it's way more rewarding when you're like, yeah, we tweaked this and we did this and this is why. And like, I love that technical side of it. And I also think it makes you really understand the products and the industry a little bit more because there's things where like people talk smack, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? And
Yeah.
I used to do it myself, right? I didn't understand. And so now seeing behind those curtains, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
patent in the way, or like, oh, there's a, all these things that nobody really thinks about. And so I think that's been one of my favorite like parts as I've gotten older and better and like I would say respected enough in the industry to be included in that side of it is I love seeing like how all of that stuff goes. And obviously I know you still do a lot of that too, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's my life. But yeah, it's hard sometimes because you really have to bite your tongue. If you want to be in that circle, that means that like you have to know when you can talk about it and when you can't even hint about it
I'll be
because
the one to screw
people
them
are
up.
crafty suckers.
Mhm.
They find all those little nuggets and Easter eggs all the time. Like, I have to come in and just like look around. And actually, I just saw
No,
something that I
no,
probably,
I
yeah,
knew right.
there's
I know
something
what I
back there.
have to say.
There's something back there that's not out yet.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I was like, I have to come in and I'm like, okay, what do we got going here? And make sure. But yeah, being in that circle means you got to stay tight-lipped at times too, you know what I mean? But it's fun and it does prevent you from getting into some of the clickbaity discussions because some people just don't know what they don't know. They're just talking about archery and I don't know, I'm not a gossip person. Like I say, I really try to post things that I think are good for archery and then I'm moving on to something that's good for archery again, you know, 5 minutes later.
No, 100%. As much as you have going on, I don't know how you have time to do what you are doing, let alone any of that other crap. So like that makes sense.
Sleep faster. That's
Yeah,
that's what Schwarzenegger told me. You just have to sleep faster.
I love that. I used to like do stuff on planes, and now I'm like, I'm just gonna use that as my sleep time because like realistically, I can't do a whole lot. So I'm gonna capitalize and sleep now.
Yep, that's a good play. That was my play too. Yeah, I fall asleep on an airplane a lot of times before they even lock the door up. I'm like
I'm
gone.
not quite that good at it, but I try.
Paige, it's been such a pleasure. I just uh, as much as these arms can spread out, that's the amount of respect that I have for what you've done with your career and what you're teaching people and honestly you're putting the arrows where your mouth is too, which I can appreciate. And your husband's a freaking hell of a shot. From what I've seen, I haven't got to shoot with you guys. But you guys are definitely some people that I hold in very high regard. So I appreciate you coming on and it's
Thanks
been
for
really
having
fun.
me.
Hopefully not the last time. I'd love to involve you more.
Oh, for sure. No, you kind of took what all of us were doing and like built an empire. Like if anyone's asked me about you, the first thing I'll say is like, well, he's a marketing genius. Like there's no doubt about that. So you like broke the code at the right time. And don't get me wrong, I know it took a ton of time and effort, obviously, but it's been impressive, like watching what you've done and what you've built in an industry that doesn't make it easy. So again, I respect
Well,
a lot of that.
yeah. Well,
No.
the internet allowed that to happen. Yeah, yeah. When things went digital and I didn't have to play by everyone's rules, that's when I just did what I always wanted to do and and just had the means to not have to like get approval by a marketing team and a sales team and someone thinks this might not be good for the bow company and I don't know, this could make such and such dealer mad because so and so's neck right so close to him or like just all that's out of the way. It's
Yeah.
just like this is what I'm doing every day and if you like it, watch it. If not, there's other personalities out there to do the same thing. So yeah, I'm doing exactly what I want to do right now, and hopefully you're doing the same. You deserve it.
No, that's the only way to do it. Life's too short to do it any other way. So, no, I really appreciate you having me. Thanks for the chat. This was
I
fun.
I need to show up to like a world. There's so many like people on the foreign teams I really miss too.
I haven't been in a couple years. Like I've shot field, but I haven't been, I've been making the team and then turning down the World Cups. my first World Cup in like 3 years this week. And I don't even, this sounds horrible, but I didn't know I was going till last Monday. So it's not like I prepared, let's be honest. So I'm like just more excited to get to go see all my friends and see everyone I haven't got to see. But no, if nothing else, you should, I know you can't come to Reading because of the freaking bear hunt, but that's really the one. Like that's where a lot of those people are. I look forward to that one every year.
Yeah, I definitely miss that one. Well, have fun in Spain, fly safe, and yeah, hopefully your bag makes it.
Thank you. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for having me.
Be sure to check out knockonarchery.com for our full line of custom designed products, as well as free in-depth education and bow hunting entertainment to help you shoot at your best.